I'm getting a little bit fed up with every single time I mention an EV, someone says, well, they're useless. They can't go the distance. I can't drive up and down the country in them. Well, today I'm making another effort at proving them wrong. I'm going to be driving from here in Drogheda right up to the north coast of Ireland, across into Donegal on the west coast, northwest coast, and then back down to Drogheda again. More than 500 kilometers in this in a single day. And also I'm on the clock because I need to be back in the gates of this garage by 6 p.m. before they close. They call this the electric streamliner, and it's all about efficiency here. And one thing you'll notice is this kind of sloping effect at the back. It really shows it off from this angle, because this car is all about aerodynamics. It's got a really, really low drag coefficient, so it should cut through the air a little bit easier, especially at the higher speeds that we're going to be doing today. Now, I get that it's not to everybody's taste. Some people, it's a little bit of a Marmite car. For me, I love it. I find a real beauty in this design, the purpose of it. But I get that some people aren't mad about it. But in typical EV platform style, this isn't going to be just a straightforward range test, because you can see what I have beside me here. This is an electric scooter that's only half charged up, and this is a kettle. So the plan is to fully charge the scooter while I'm driving, showing off the V2L technology in this, and at some stage I'm going to stop along the way and boil a full kettle of water off the battery power in this, just to put a little bit more edge to the test. So today's test is going to be a real balance of the efficiency of the car, what I can crack out of it, but also real world driving, because I'm on the clock. Now, I have a 505 kilometer journey according to Google Maps, but I'm going to put a few rules in there in place. Now, I'm going to be leaving here and I have to get back by 6 p.m. So it's coming up to 9:30 now. I'm not going to get out, let's say 9:45, but I'll give you that update as we go. So there's really an essence of urgency that I get around, because I'm going to have to stop to go to the toilet. I'm going to have to stop to get a little bit of lunch. I might need to stop to get a drink at some stage. Also, I want to do a little bit of filming along the way. So I'm under time pressure. Google Maps says it's going to be 7 hours and 8 minutes. So if I leave at 10 o'clock, that only gives me about 50 minutes spare to do all those things. And I'm not sure if I can squeeze them in. So that really puts a bit of pressure on to keep the speed up. So on that point, there's a few rules there as well. I'm going to be going pretty much as quickly as I can in this car to try to do the journey, but I will absolutely not be breaking any speed limits. Now, at times, if I'm on the motorway and I feel like I'm struggling for efficiency, I might drop it back from that 120 limit down to 110 or something like that. But this really is to go as fast as I legally and safely can to get back in these gates by 6 p.m. Now, I've got the GoPro on here. Let's see, I'm going to point that at the screen here. So we are charged up to 100%, as you can see down there. The battery is preconditioned. You've got this feature where you can go into, where is it? Oh, it gets battery status. Anyway, we don't have time to show it. But anyway, I've preconditioned the battery, so this should be nice and warm, giving us the best chance at efficiency. But we're still able to leave at 100 because the car was on charge when we did that. It's estimating that we've got 553 kilometers. Now, we only need 505 today, so you're thinking, oh, that's really, really easy. But we're going to be on the motorway a lot. We're going to be doing higher speeds. I'm going to have the aircon on. That's another rule as well. I'm probably just going to have this set to, I'll probably take off my jumper, set it to 20 degrees and just leave it there for most of the day. That'll be the plan anyway. So yeah, that 553 is optimistic. Once we get this on the motorway, you're going to see that dropping. Now, there's 3 different trip meters here. So there's after recharging. So I plugged it out 4 minutes ago, as you can see. And then there's drive information. So I've been sitting in the car for 7 minutes since I turned it on. But here's the one that we're going to want to know about, and that's the accumulated info. Now, I'm going to reset that, but you can see there over the last 750 kilometers, people have been averaging 14.3, and that's key. I'll come back to that in a second. But I'm going to reset that. No, I'll wait just until I'm driving off to reset that. That 14.3 is key because this has a 74 kilowatt hour usable battery. I'm doing 505 kilometers, probably a little bit more by the time I take a wrong turn because I do things like that. So the car needs to average about 14.6 to hit that on the money. But I'm also going to presume a slight, very tiny, maybe 1%, 2% battery degradation in this car, plus a few wrong turns. So I need that figure there to be at 14 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers or less to make it back here at the end of the day. And that's what I'm a little bit worried about. I could do it easily if I hypermile the car, but I'm not doing that. We're on the clock. We got to be back here by 6. So that's the challenge. So I'm going to reset that actually now just to show you, and then I'll do a last one maybe before I drive out the door. There it is, back to 0. If you're wondering what mode I'm driving this in, I'm going to be leaving it in normal. So the IONIQ 6 has 3 main modes. There's a little button here in the steering wheel to toggle between them. So there's Eco, Normal and Sport. I'm going to leave it in Normal. And as we come into town, here's a chance just to flappy paddle back down into level 1 regen. That's dropping me down to the 60km speed limit, and then we toddle on again. But yeah, in the different modes, look, I just leave it in normal. I want this to be kind of real world, and it doesn't make a gigantic difference to the actual consumption. What it does is, when you put it into eco mode, it just really dulls the throttle, and it might cut down on the extremes that the air conditioning can go to. So it won't give you access to, 16 degrees if it's boiling outside. And you can just make those choices yourself anyway. So I'm not losing out on any efficiency. I do strongly believe that, having driven so many different EVs over the last few years. So yeah, for me, it's just normal sport and keep going. But here's another thing for you, right? We've done 6 kilometers as we come out of Drogheda over the last 5 minutes, and we've already lost 3%, and we've been averaging 24.2 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So I am nearly double the amount of energy consumption that I need to be if I'm to have a chance of making this. Nearly double. But the trick is, I know that hill up out of Drogheda is really, really steep, and you use a lot of energy, so I'm expecting that to drop back down. But will it drop enough? We don't know that yet. The first little hiccup of the day, and nothing got to do with the car, got to do with me bladder anxiety, not range anxiety, bladder. I needed to go to the toilet, and I'm also quite hungry, so I thought I would stop briefly. And I'm in kind of, I think it's rural Antrim, a village called Glenavi. Stopped here at the Spar, but check this out, just over the other side of the car, didn't even know this in advance, is this, a BP Pulse dual CCS unit. And if we head over to that just there, this is fantastic. It's actually got lithium-ion batteries built into it. Now, I presume that's because there's not enough energy coming to the site, so they can charge up the batteries and then dump a load of energy into the car. Look at that, 2 dual 150 kilowatt points there. Tap to pay if you don't want the apps or anything like that. And that's just a brilliant facility. So when I've turned up here and I'm on, I think it is 78% on the car. I'll check that as I get into it. But that 10 minutes, like really 10 minutes by the time I went in, went to the toilet, bought a snack for myself, would have got the car up, I mean, off the top of my head, well above 90% anyway. So if I get into the car and we'll see, battery percentage should come up now in a second. Yeah, 78%. So we would have been up to 90, 95 in that kind of 10 minutes by the time we leave, because this car charges so fast. But I'm not charging it because I want to just do this whole range test. But it's one of those points that, can you drive around the country? Well, I didn't even plan to stop here. I just pulled in to grab a toilet break, and I could have been back up to 95%. So just bear that in mind as we go throughout the journey, that although this might look like a really tricky, dicey situation, in real world driving, we would have been up to 95% now. I've just pulled into the Giant's Causeway, the visitor centre. The actual causeway itself is kind of down that way about 1 kilometre or so, and we don't have time to go through it today. So I'm at the visitor centre. But look, what you want to know about really is the numbers on the car. So let's pop in and take a look at that now. I'm going to do a quick turnover here. I've just got the GoPro camera on. So we have done 208 kilometers, and that was 2 hours 37 driving time. So we were kind of that 15-20 minutes slower than Google Maps suggested, but that was largely because of the break that I took, and then maybe I might have lost about 5 minutes on the motorways when I was doing 110 instead of 120. But in general, it was up there, kind of pushing the speed limits. But look, we're down to 61% battery, and it's estimating that we've got another 316 kilometers range. So I was probably a little bit too optimistic about this when I set out, and it's that efficiency figure there, show you again, is at 14.8 per 100 kilometers, and I think that I need that to be down in the really low 14s, possibly into the 13s, to make this trip. So I'm kind of hoping, it's quite windy out there, and I think we've been fighting the wind a little bit, and that the next stage we're going to have to fight it again, but that it'll ease off on the way back. So at the moment it's kind of really dicey, possibly won't make it, especially with the couple of other things that I have planned. So yeah, fingers crossed. But anyway, we're up here now. I'm going to take a few minutes here, rest. I don't want to be driving all day, and then we'll give you another update as we're hitting the road again. Back into the car now. I think it's time to hit the road. I had a quick look for a toilet, but it's in the visitor centre way over there, and we need to get on the road. So we're going to do that instead. So what do we have left? Right, well, the car is saying that we've got 315 kilometres indicated range. And let's see, down here, 61% battery. So the drive information just reset itself there as I turned on the car again. I've put Letterkenny into the sat nav of the car, and I'm going to have it on Google Maps here if I need it as well. So it's saying that this journey is going to be, let's bring it up here now. If I click on that, yeah, an hour 37, so we should be there. God, yeah, 20 past 2, maybe just after that. And it's 62 miles, which is exactly 100 kilometres. The weather has been quite windy, as you can see as well. The roads have also been quite sticky because there was a lot of rain on the way up, although it isn't raining here at the moment. So I'm kind of fingers crossed that that's easier on the way. But look, I just want to get on the road to give ourselves the best chance of making it back to Frankines in Drogheda by 6 p.m, which is the deadline for this. Spent a lot of time in this car today. You know, by the time I finish up the journey, I'll have been driving the car for about 7.5 to 8 hours, which is a long, long time. And my back is absolutely fine. And it's on that point that I just want to talk about the comforts of this car. And when we talk about real kind of, you know, either luxury or real comfortable cars, brands like, you know, be it BMW, Audi, Mercedes, they're the ones that tend to come to mind. But we live in a different world now. And what Hyundai are doing with this IONIQ 6 is punching well above the weight that they used to anyway. Like, this thing is really, really comfortable. I don't quite get the plush leathers that we associate with some of those German brands, but for me, I don't need them. When you objectively assess this car, it's extremely comfortable, and it's got just the spec level that you get with it. Like, we've got our heads-up display here. There's electric mirrors, of course. There's electric seats with electric lumbar support, and 6-way adjustable, I think. We've got the cruise control, which is adaptive. We've gone through that already. The climate control is brilliant. The seats are really comfortable. The padding's lovely, but also they're 3-stage heated. They're cooled as well, as in ventilated. You've got that, I'll put it up on screen, the name of that. The chairs, basically, they'll just recline as well. There's a button that you can press and it'll lift up your legs a little bit and drop the back in it. It's just so comfortable. There's so much space here. I'm 6'2" and I've still got, plenty of space there. Legroom in the back is fantastic. Like, you get two people of 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", front and back here. And that glare is absolutely terrible, isn't it? Pulled into Letterkenny, to ATU Letterkenny, and let's give you some of the numbers on how we go. I kind of need the toilet, so I need to hurry this part up. But look, anyway, it was 98.9 kilometres to get here, and took just under 2 hours. But look at that average efficiency there, 13.4. So that's way down from what it was. In fact, if I just scroll through here, you can see overall it was 14.4, but that was up at 15, and I was getting a little bit nervous. So we had a really good shift just there. And the battery percentage is now down to 43%, and that's indicating that we've got 220 kilometres left. But look, as you can see, temperatures are still nice. It's been about 12, 13, 14 all day. The sun has come out a little bit now, although it's been a few showers and mostly just cloudy. But yeah, I need to go to the toilet. The car is performing wonderfully. I'm doing less well in general. It's been a lot of driving so far. But yeah, I'll get a few things done here, and then we'll give you an update before we hit the road again. So it's time for the penultimate leg of the journey. We're going to take off just now. Now, my plan was to show you the V2L technology here in Letterkenny, either in the car park of the college, which is completely full. So I came out here outside the local shopping centre. But the heavens have just opened. I don't know if you can see that there. It's really rained. So I was going to sit outside and boil the kettle off this car, make myself a cup of tea, but it's just pointless because it's so wet outside. But then also I'm really, really tight on time. So what I would do instead is point this out, right? So the battery there is on 43%. Now I've just, oh God, that real misty rain. I'm miserable. But if I open it up, the car on this side here, you can see that I've got the scooter in the back seat. There's so much leg room in this car. I'm 6'2", and look, plenty of space there. But the thing is plugged in. At this moment, it was on 73% when I plugged it in, and that is currently drawing power from the 3-pin socket just there inside the car. Now, it's not drawing that much power at all to charge up that scooter, but this car is capable of putting out 3.6 kilowatts. And for a bit of context, the kettle that I brought with me on full power pulls about 2 kilowatts. So this thing is really, really powerful. But it'll be interesting just to see if it does make any sort of a drain on the battery as we drive along charging that. But that could be your laptop, it could be batteries for the cameras, anything that you want. Really, really impressive stuff. And also there's an adapter that you can plug into the external socket where you would charge up the car, and that has a 3-pin socket on it where you can pull power back out. Great for power tools. You could mow your lawn off this thing, cut the hedges with electric shears. It's brilliant. But here's what we want to know about. Right, 43% and an estimated 218 kilometers. But here's the issue. We have 3 hours and 12 minutes to make it back to the garage to get in beside the gates. And I've got Google Maps up here. Let me get that in a better position for you so you can see it. Yeah, 3 hours and 7 minutes. So we've got hardly anything to spare, and the journey is going to be 206 kilometers. So we won't get a chance to actually stop in Doran Motors in Carrick Cross. Unfortunately, I kind of wanted to film there a little bit, but yeah, so we've got 12 kilometers to spare and 5 minutes to spare if we go right now, and that's what I'm going to do. So it's really going to be push this car as much as we can within the speed limits to try to make it to both destinations and then on again after that. So yeah, fingers crossed, because this could go either way at this stage. Might have gathered from watching this video already, I really do love the IONIQ 6. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I love driving it in all conditions, you know, be that motorway, just those short little hops, maybe around town, kind of those urban or extra urban countryside ones. I think it's fantastic. Now, it's not the ultimate driver's car. You know, if you're going up through the Wicklow Mountains or you want a spirited drive, yeah, something like the Performance Polestar 2, possibly the i4, I think might be a little bit of a more engaging experience in that sense. But this, as a rounded driver's car, I really like it. It does everything so well. Like, there's plenty of power there. We've only got the rear wheel drive motor, but it's still got 220 PS, you know, well over 300 Newton meters of torque. And I've completely gone off screen because of the glare from the sunshine. But now that I turn, this might come back slightly. Yeah, there you can see me a little bit more. And yeah, we still got 228 PS in this, so it can really shift. Like, we've just left a zone there, so we're at 80 kilometers an hour, floor at 90, 100, just like that. Like, it's just, it picks up so well. It's so comfortable with that all-electric drivetrain. Now, you could opt for the all-wheel drive version of this, but personally, I wouldn't be bothered. I think if you're looking for that high-level performance, then there's probably other cars out there for you anyway. This one, there's plenty in that rear-wheel drive version of it. Now, there are a couple of exceptions to that, where if you live in a snowy climate and you know, you like that four-wheel or all-wheel drive traction, maybe it makes some sense then. But in general, for me, this is the sweet spot, that rear-wheel drive version with a decent bit of a spec on it. So I've just pulled into the guys here at Doran Motors, just outside Carrickmacross. The third leg finished, and let's get the numbers up here. So I'm only in about a minute. So yeah, there we go. It was 153 kilometers for that section of the journey. Took over 2 hours. But look at that efficiency, 12.9. And I was pushing this car. I mean, I wasn't breaking the speed limit, but I was straight up to speed out of roundabouts. It was fairly aggressive regen braking. I overtook whenever I could. Like, it was as fast as I could go. That was both legal and safe, but it was still aggressive driving. So this thing is just, it's eating up the miles now. I think there must be some small difference in the wind as well. I'm not fighting it as much. But yeah, the car is absolutely flying. But look, I really need a little toilet break and a couple of other things to do here with the guys in Doran Motors before we head back to Frankendrada then. But the other thing that we want to know about is the scooter. So I'm just going to jump in the back here and let you have a look at this. So now just turn it on there and look at that. The battery is full. Now the thing with this is the car, it's programmed that once the battery gets below 20%, it stops the V12 functionality, I suppose, just to make sure that you actually have a little bit of range left to get to your destination. But it got the battery full, I think, well before it actually cut out in the end. Fair play to it. I've quickly popped into the showroom here at Doran Motors, and the main reason is because they actually have one of the IONIQ 6s inside here, and it's in my favourite colour. If I'm buying this car, this is what I'm getting, the exact spec just here. It's in that kind of a matte grey colour. I think it looks absolutely fantastic, and it's that mid-level spec, the same one that we have. Now, prices is the main reason that I wanted to come in. How much is this thing? What are you getting for your money? So it starts off with the smaller battery one, and you get a lower spec for that, and that comes in at 46,000, so just under 46,000. Then you step up to about 50 for the larger battery. That's the one that we have today, the 74 kilowatt hour version. Now you've got three different kind of spec levels within that larger battery. So there's two spec levels itself with the rear wheel drive, and we have the higher spec level, the finesse, with the rear wheel drive today. And then you can also get the all-wheel drive version, step up, and that spec is called finesse, but that goes up to just under 70,000 euros. So for me, the sweet spot is the car that we have today that we're doing the test with, but in this colour just here. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And the last thing to mention is that these are currently on at 1.9% finance APR. And that's important to remember, because that compared to a car that's on at, let's say, 6% finance, you're talking about a 4, 5, 6,000 euro difference over the course of the term of your repayments. The time is ticking over. Let's see, I got my phone out here. It is 40 minutes until those gates close in Drogheda and Frankeen. So we got to get from where we are here at Doran there in 40 minutes. And this is going to be really, really tight. So battery wise, I'm not worried about it. I think we are going to do it. Let's turn on the car here. I'm sorry this is so rushed, but I really want to get it back. Lots of beeps and bongs in this car. Settle. Yeah, there we go. Right, so it has reset the trip meter. You can see the low battery warning coming on just here. We have 15% and an estimated range of 78 kilometers. And if I take out my phone, we can see where we're going on Google Maps just here. I'll have it up in a moment on that. You can use the voice recognition, just press the button, say navigate to Frankeen Drogheda, and it'll get you there. But here's what we want to know about. 37 minutes, so that gives us 2 minutes to spare, and 45 kilometers to go with an estimated range of 78. So we should be okay on that. But look, it's time. I just need to get my seatbelt on and go, and we'll update you then when we get there. We're on the motorway here as we're tearing down towards Drogheda. I just want to mention the cruise control system that's in this car, and I think that it's definitely up there with the best, and I think that it could be the best or the joint best system that I've ever driven. It really is just fantastic, and for a few different reasons. So it's adaptive cruise control, of course, so as we come up behind slower moving cars now, it will sense those cars there, slow down and stay at a set distance behind them, and we can choose at the push of a button here 4 different stages that it'll track the cars in front. But I've also got level 2 autonomous, as in I'm not steering the car at the moment. Now legally I have to have my hands on the steering wheel, and I'm doing that, but if I kind of release my fingers, it's following the contours of the motorway. It really is something else, and it even goes beyond that as well. And on those really, okay, we're at the next exit. That's actually handy because it'll give us a chance to show off the next little feature. In fact, I won't, you know what, I'm just going to bail out here and indicate left. But if I'm in that cruise control system and I indicate, it will change lane for me as well. And I've used it plenty of times. I'm sorry I can't show it right now, we're just coming off the motorway. But I've used it plenty of times in the past, and on those longer journeys where you're going, you know, from Dublin to Cork, you're doing 200-300 kilometres on a motorway, it is just, it's absolutely fantastic to have that. It makes the journey so much easier, and you get there just that little bit more refreshed than you would have otherwise. Okay, we are nearly there. It's 5:57 p.m. according to the car. And yeah, here we are pulling into Frankeen Hyundai at 5:57, maybe 5:58 by the time I actually stop the car. Let's see, move that out of the way if I don't knock myself out first. I'm gonna park it up here. Is there a customer spot? Yeah, there we go. And then I'll take the camera out quickly and we'll have a a good look at the numbers here. Oh, I cannot believe we made it. That was so close, within a couple of minutes. I think the guys now, I know, are going to want to get out of here soon, so park up the car, film this, and let them close up and get the gate shut and all that. So, there we go. Press park. I'm going to put down this sun visor because that is kind of spring sun. Right, and we get out the GoPro so that you guys can see the numbers that I'm talking about. But we've made it. I wouldn't say comfortably. Let's see, press record on this. Now, so let's bring up, first of all, that last trip that we've done. Yeah, there we go, 44 kilometers. It took 38 minutes, which is pretty much bang on what Google Maps said we would. But the average, once again, like I pushed this car, it was in sport mode the whole way, and still 14.3 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Like that is just absolutely brilliant. Now, another thing that I want to do is just scroll up here and we see accumulated info. So this is what we've done since we left here at 9:45 this morning. 505 kilometers, which is exactly what Google Maps said it would be. Now they put in, I think it was 7 hours and 15 minutes or thereabouts. So we were an extra 35 minutes according to this. But there was a lot of times where I was 2 or 3 minutes in the car before I actually set out. You know, then recording a little bit when I turned the car on. So I think this is pretty much, you know, bang on, give or take 5 minutes. Like I could have saved potentially 5 to 10 minutes on the motorway on the way up north initially, but that's about it. Otherwise, this was pushing the car as hard as we could. And look at that, an average of 13.9 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers overall. Like that is just phenomenal efficiency. There's like the only other car I can think of out there is the likes of the Model 3 that will match this, potentially beat it, but I mean, you're talking about tiny differences. Yeah, just phenomenal achievement there. But I think, look, I want to get this keys back to the car and then we'll figure out some other stats and numbers later on in the video. But wow, what a day that's been. Well, that's been a long day, but made so much more enjoyable by an absolutely fantastic car. But there, I just took 2 or 3 minutes after I parked up the car. The guys are getting it on charge now to make a few notes on the day, kind of some summary thoughts, let's say. And there's 3 things that I want to go through so that I don't just cover what I was in the video already. One is just to talk about the range briefly. Now, we did just over 500 kilometers today, but there's still 6% there and possibly a little bit more in the buffer. And if you work out that theoretical range, you're looking at about 540 kilometers. And I pushed that car today. I think that is absolutely brilliant. There's a few things. I know at the start I said I'd set out and put the aircon on at 20 degrees thereabouts, but I didn't need it at the start. I had my t-shirt on, and as I went through it today, I didn't need it at all, apart from in the afternoon. I had it on a little bit when the sun came out and started heating up the car. Now, if you did that in winter, you can definitely knock off that kind of 8 or 10%, maybe even 15% range. So at that stage in winter, would we have done that trip at those speeds if the temperature was 10, 15 degrees colder? And I think we would have just about fell short. Now, second point then is the cost of that, because I know that's something that's quite important to people. So we use 95% of the battery. So 18 euros that would have cost me if I charge at home on the standard 24-hour rate. However, if you had one of those night rates, you could more than half that down to 7 or 8 euros where you get your night boost rate. However, on the other side, if you went to one of those really fast DC chargers, I think you're looking at in around that 40 to 45 euros at the prices most providers are charging at the moment. But then again, if you compare that to petrol or diesel, I think that is a lot cheaper, especially when you're charging at home. Not to mention the maintenance cost as well. Last thing just to say about this trip today that I did is it wasn't realistic. In a sense, it was a real world test where I went out and I drove it like I would. But at the same time, if that was a regular trip where I wasn't having a challenge put in front of me, a test like I did today, I would have done it a little bit different. You saw me at one stage just choosing not to charge up the car, and that would have been back up to 90, 95% before I went, meaning we would have got here on 20 or 25. However, there was other times as well. Like I didn't stop for lunch today. I bought a few snacks earlier on, a couple of those bars and a banana, and I ate that from the car just before I set off on those trips. So I could easily have picked a spot to charge for 30 minutes even, and this car would have filled up. As an example, that thing can go from 10 to 80% in about 20 minutes, just under 20 minutes. So when you say, oh, we only just about made it today, my diesel might have done it fine. The electric would have done it fine as well if I operated that in a real world sense. Well, I've had an absolutely fantastic day today, and that IONIQ 6 has been something special. Now, I just wanted to say a final word that this is a completely independent channel. We don't get paid by anybody. We're not being paid by the garage or by Hyundai to do this video. It's just for the love of EVs, trying to cut through some of those myths, that nonsense that's out there, and show their capabilities like we did today. So we really do appreciate any support you give in that sense, be it likes, comments, subscribe, or the super thanks on YouTube, whatever that is. We really do appreciate it. I'm fascinated by these things. I'm on a journey of exploration over the last few years that's continuing now as I start off a postgrad in EV technology. So thank you very much for watching today, and hopefully you can join us on the next one.